Hey guys, there's much to talk about, and unfortunately, it seems Alex and my schedule have been opposing for the last couple of weeks, making a video difficult. There's been two negotiations on January 27th and February 3rd, and now there's an email that we're going to update you about. While there's been much discussed, there's been very little agreement.
There has been some agreement though, so let's start there. We're close to language that deals with how grievances get filed and how we might work with a moderator to facilitate these processes, and if we can't agree, how we advance to arbitration. There would also be a timeline attached to this. This is important because we often feel stuck in the mud with management stonewalling despite our having claims that are well-founded. I think that this will also help a great deal lubricating this process going forward. If they don't follow the rules, which they often don't, things will be decided in our favor. The same burden will fall on us though, so we will work to keep those channels clear.
For sure. I think another area that we've made progress is this PFMLA language. This can get pretty technical, so this is just a quick overview. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us for a more in-depth explanation. Our last contract negotiated short-term disability for our full-time members. PFMLA does a couple of things. One, it would include per diems into those that are covered, which is good. Two, it provides up to 26 weeks of job protection. Three, it gives paid coverage if a covered family member falls sick, or for a mother and father when a child is born or adopted. So PFMLA does provide more benefits, except there's a provision that you have to pay into the plan. We're arguing that full-time members should not be required because most of the benefits were already offered for free per our last contract with short-term disability. Again, this gets sticky and technical, but we're working on a compromise that will benefit us all.
This can be a confusing topic, so I'll start by saying that PFMLA and short-term disability are very similar. The difference with PFMLA is that it is required by the state and now would include per diem staff. The union has no issue with per diems paying for PFMLA because they have never had access to short-term disability.
That's right.
Where the union has a problem is for full-time and part-time staff paying into a program that they used to get for free. Under management's new proposal to comply with the law, workers are basically paying 25 cents out of every potential $100 they could get if they use the benefit.
If being the key word.
Deb Solomon's response as to why we should pay for a benefit that we already have is that this provides an additional 14 weeks of job protection over short-term disability were one of our members to become temporarily disabled.
Let's also not forget that this program and access to it will mean going through the Hartford Insurance Company. Hartford will make you jump through a bunch of hoops to qualify. They'll make it deliberately difficult, and this is how they'll try and get out of paying anything at all. Now, about things that we don't really agree about. I think it makes some sense to work in a little bit of a backwards timeline. So to address the elephant in the room straight away, let's chat about Darlene's email.
Oh boy.
I meant what I said on Facebook and amongst our union leadership. The more I thought about what Darlene had to say in her email, the more I was certain that we've been doing our job. We've been creating good trouble. We're not letting our membership be steamrolled. We're standing up to the bullies in the schoolyard. We're taking our stands, whether it be standouts last fall, Zoom meeting with membership, or sticker campaigns, or even these videos. What we're doing is working. The items she brought up are so easy to talk about. So let's go through them item by item.
While it is true that Ron and Rudy, our associate director and regional director of the MNA, are not nurses, the rest of us are. And we are not simple wallflowers standing by silently watching. Our bargaining group regularly speak to specific issues and respond vocally objecting to the proposals management has put forward. We know that from your feedback, how outrageous you feel it is that Deb Solomon is doing most of the talking.
And she really does.
What I think you should also know is that there is a team of at least 5 other if not more sometimes, HR folks on the lines and working behind the scenes. Often there is more HR folks on these calls than nursing leadership. So yes, Rudy may not be a nurse, but everything that she has put forward has gone through our nursing committee.
That's true. Let's talk about vacations for a second. So Darlene wants to sound magnanimous, that she's looking out for our junior nurses, whose vacation time has been taken away by us dastardly senior nurses. Look, guys, this becomes super simple. This is a divide and conquer statement and technique. She wants to assert that older, more senior nurses gobble up all the vacation time, leaving nothing for anyone else. The reality is super different, and y'all know that it's true. The way that it should work, this is 12 weeks of summer vacation. The way that it should work is there should be enough vacation to go around. And it's true that the senior nurses might get first pick, but there's weeks that are left over, and maybe those weeks get distributed to some senior nurses if they want it, or to more junior nurses if there's enough available. But that's not what they do. They actually cluster units together. They actually bring in more nurses into the vacation schedule than there are weeks to go around. And what's left is nurses, thank you, that don't get any time at all. And that's not fair. It's also not the fault of senior nurses getting first pick. It's that they distribute too many nurses to not enough weeks of vacation. That's the problem, that's what we're working on, and that's what's not fair.
Deb Solomon and her team actually had presented the finances about how much it would cost to cover summer vacations. They say it is too expensive to offer enough time to go around to everyone. It is like a cruel game of musical chairs.
That's right.
When the music stops and everybody lunges for a chair, those that don't get a chair just lose. It's not fair, but it is not senior nurses that make it not fair. It is instead management's bundling too many people or units together. Add to that how scarce PTO time is for new staff members, and it just gets worse.
That it takes nearly 3 pay periods or 6 weeks for a new nurse to earn enough time to take off a single day. For Deb to pretend that she's interested in you guys having time off, it just doesn't jive. We'll be talking more about PTO time in future videos.
Darlene also brought up COVID pay. She asserts that the union rejected offers for COVID pay. She is right. We for sure did.
Yep.
What was offered was a pittance. Management offered to pay only those working in COVID spaces a small bonus. This would not be paid to all members, and it was a very incidental amount. The most any one member would have received in this was around $250. For others, it would have been much less. And there would have been nothing for most of our membership.
That's right.
Even though we were all, especially in the earliest days of COVID, at risk for exposure.
But we had that abundance of PPE, remember?
Right.
Yeah.
What we negotiated instead was the $600 that all of us got back in October/November. Are we still looking to increase compensation for risk associated to COVID? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that if you contract COVID, Trinity will pay for your time away from work.
That's right.
To say that the union just simply rejected something and are now wasting time looking for a handout just is not an accurate depiction of the situation.
As for a fair and beneficial contract, let's talk about some of their proposals over the last few bargaining sessions. These are in no particular order, but I think it'll shed light on what they think of as fair and who it will be beneficial for. We are trying to have clarification in the language surrounding cancellations. We have made our proposal that the order be agency, overtime, per diem, and then regular staff. This seems fair, and it was an overwhelming consensus of our council and our membership that that would be fair. Management, led always by Deb Solomon and her cadre of HR folks, instead came back that there would be, now get this, that there would be 2 buckets of overtime. One I have to read this because it gets weird. One, regular overtime, and then the other, those going into overtime, followed then by agency, per diem, then regular staff. The language they proposed was deliberately opaque. What is the going into overtime language? After some questions, it became clear. If you were to, this is how they want this to work. If you were to work on a Monday and a Tuesday, get called in to work on Wednesday and agree to pick up that shift, and then your Saturday shift would tick you, that would be the hours that would actually bring you into overtime. They want to be able to cut that shift. They want to be able to cut the shift that brings you into overtime, even if it's regular time.
Yep, they want to be able to cancel you on a regular day if that brings you into overtime. Everybody hear that? This is how the worst employers cull time from labor. I have heard of this in McDonald's, Walmart, but for licensed professionals that agree to come in and work an extra day, only to have the financial carrot for working that day cut later in the week is repulsive. We objected to this both because it was outrageous, but more because they tried to slip it in thinking that we would notice.
Then, later in that same back and forth, we were discussing call days. Some history here. The hospital has been able to cancel a call day 2 hours prior to working that shift. So too, the union nurse has been able to act in kind. Darlene has suddenly and abruptly decided to want to make this relationship a one-way street. They want to be able to cancel you whenever they choose. However, if you cancel a call day, this would count against their generous and abundant sick policy of 3 days a year.
That sick policy brought to you by the people who want a fair and just contract.
Yeah, exactly. So this was one area that Darlene actually spoke up about. She doubled down that management insists on the right to be able to cancel staff, that staff has no rights to cancel themselves. We made a proposal to address that if there were abuses, if our members were to abuse this, if someone were to say cancel more than 2 call shifts in 3 months, then they would not be able to pick up call time for 6 months. This was our compromise to address management's concerns, maybe even understandable concerns, that a canceled call day could impact staffing. She, Darlene, agreed that our proposal would be something that they could use, but that the absence would also count against their attendance policy. We countered that our proposal was actually in place of them penalizing our membership with attendance, and Darlene said she wanted to be able to use them both. That in one breath, they want nurses to be locked into working a call day, and in the other, they want to be able to cancel a regular day that ticks us into overtime, was not lost on any of us. That these are practices used in companies that are the most unfriendly to labor is something that is simply disrespectful to our colleagues, disrespectful to all of us that don't have the luxury of working at home during this pandemic, and disrespectful to our professionalism and our particular skill set.
Darlene feels that the reason that staffing is so challenging is that nurses call out too many times. We have asked repetitively for documentation to support this because we believe that our nurses are not slackers that are not willing to work, but humans that just might get sick on occasion. That the fault lies instead in the bare bones, lean management model that Trinity has embraced.
That's right. We all know that there's never a plan for problems that come up. Someone is sick, patient is combative, or. The only solution is to pull someone to cover, for an aide to go sit, supervisor to fall into an assignment, for the unit nurse to suddenly have to triple. This is what was brought to Darlene, that we always run bare bones, and that's where the problems come in. Get this, she vehemently denied and insisted that we're often overstocked, and that it is call-outs that cause the wheels to come off the bus. I suspect that those of you watching this know where the truth in this lies.
So this is just one of the many back and forths where we have come back with proposals to address their concerns, where we strive to bridge the gap, trying to understand management's need to run a fiscally responsible hospital and to have Mercy be an attractive place for nurses to be recruited to work and retained. Management comes back with wanting their cake and eating it too.
So look, guys, as always with these videos, it seems, there's a lot here. Much of it's discouraging, much of it's maddening, and it's really disappointing. But it's also not unexpected. We knew that this was not going to be easy, that this was going to be a battle, that they're going to try and divide us, that they're going to try and strip us of our rights. How do we know? Because they do this every time they change the rules of the game. We can only take 5 patients, unless we need to take 6, then we take 6. That we should have 2 PCTs, unless there's only 1 because they don't plan on needing to have a sitter and that PCT gets pulled. One day we have 10 sick days, and the next we have a 70% reduction that was brought down to 3. The rules are always changing in their favor. We know what to do though, don't we? We know how to get insurmountable and unimaginable amount of work done. We, all of you, seemingly do the impossible every day. So because nurses are by definition badasses, because we are fierce, because what we do every day is get the damn job done, I believe we can get this done too. We can persevere. We can take our case to the public. We can stand our ground here in the hospital. You have heard me say this. We are on the right side of this fight. We're on the side of justice. We're on the side of fair. We are on the side of what is right.
We continue to fight. We invite you all to virtually attend any and all of these negotiations, to hear firsthand how they want to treat us. We want to pull back the curtain. That is the reason why we're doing all these videos and the flyers. The more they know you're watching, the more that you're peeking into the process, the stronger we are.
That's right.
We will be posting Zoom links to the next meeting, and we will be doing more videos to keep you updated. There's a lot to talk about for sure. This is just skinning the surface, but thank you for watching, thank you for liking, and certainly responding and commenting. Keep on making good trouble. It is making a difference. Jamie is right. That email was a direct response to what all of us have been doing. Make sure to watch these videos, make sure that you get a flyer, pass it along to another colleague, wear an M&A badge holder, wear a sticker when they come around, make it known that we're unified. From now on, let's wear red scrub tops or t-shirts on Mondays as a demonstration of unity.
Red Mondays, I like it. That's right. Let's make it known that we're together, that we're working towards a better contract and a better mercy. Thanks for watching and commenting. And always remember, we are
Stronger together.